to celebrate my 80th birthday, I went out, got an elk, got it out of the field, loaded it into the back of my Jeep Grand Cherokee, got it home, got it hung up and skinned, did all that by myself just to see if I could still do it.
Old farts, good old farts, and there's nothing that we ain't done. Hiking, hunting, and fishing, we're still looking for more fun. So just sit back and listen. You don't want to be missing the adventures yet to be from folks like you and me.
You are an author. You are an avid outdoors person. You were a weatherman. You were a professor, a department chair. How many columns have you written?
About 1,300, somewhere around 1,300 weekly columns.
So
outdoor stuff.
1,300 outdoor weekly columns that were in your local newspaper.
Yes.
Which always helped fund our many adventures.
Did indeed.
You were a founding member of the Rocky Mountain Bighorn Sheep Society.
Yes, sir.
Right. Were you a president of that at one point in time?
Probably. I don't remember. It's been a long time. It's been 50 years now, exactly 50 years since we started.
You were a multiple-time president of Field and Stream Club.
Yes. In fact, I'm doing that again. That's the oldest sportsman's club in the state of Washington since 1919.
Very cool.
I was not one of the founding members of that group.
Well, that would make you what would that make you in the old fart echelon had you been?
That would be Master Old Fart Plus.
Yeah, Master Old Fart Plus, absolutely. How old were you when you started fishing and hunting?
Probably 5. I think I started hunting when I was 7.
That's pretty awesome.
My parents, the way they described it was, you would get that look on your face and you'd be standing by the door with your old .22 and we would just open the door and tell you to be home by dark.
Yeah, and you're still at it.
Hey, everybody needs a hobby.
So you've been fishing and hunting then for a little over 70 years?
Oh, well over 70. Probably 77. Yeah, probably about 77 years.
So what year were you born?
1941. I was born 5 days after Pearl Harbor.
1941.
During a practice blackout. And my old man, every time he would get angry with me, would say, you know, you little so-and-so, I know we got you mixed up with somebody else's kid in the dark. Because there were practice blackouts during that part. So, problem was I looked just like him.
Yeah, I think they got the right kid ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately.
Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, Washington, actually. It's right along the Columbia River. On the east side of the Columbia River, Wenatchee Valley is a huge apple growing area. Mm-hmm. And in fact, my first deer hunting was in the orchards. We used to have orchard hunts all the time because the deer couldn't stay away from the apple buds. So the leaf buds, good protein for them.
Were you born in Wenatchee or did you move to Wenatchee?
I was born in Tacoma, Washington. And we moved over to Wenatchee pretty early on.
Was your dad big into fishing and hunting too?
He loved to hunt, he loved to fish, but he grew up during the Depression and he had to go to work. And so he really had a difficult time taking time off to hunt. One of my favorite stories of him, we built the house that we lived in East Wenatchee, actually built it from a capped off basement to a house and then a bigger house adding onto it. But I was probably 13 years old, and we were putting the roof on the house in the fall, putting the roofing on. And it had to be October, and a rooster pheasant kept crowing out in the orchard behind us. And at that point, I had sort of figured he just was never going to hunt, because he couldn't get away to go deer hunting with me. I would go hunt deer hunting on my bike when I was 11 years old. But I kind of had given up on him doing much, even though he supported me. But he was nailing down shingles, and this rooster kept crowing, cackling over there. And every time it would cackle, he would pause. And finally, about the third or fourth time this rooster started crowing, he just handed me his nail bag and said, "Sit tight." Went down the ladder. I heard him go in the house. I heard him come back out of the house. He had his shotgun. It was an old J.C. Higgins 12-gauge bolt action. And I heard him loading a shotgun shell, a 12-gauge, into this shotgun. And then nothing for a few minutes. And then I heard that rooster cackle, and boom. And the next thing I know is he's walking back into the yard. My mother has come out into the backyard. He hands her the rooster and says, "Thank you, Dorothy." Hands her the shotgun, comes back up the ladder, doesn't say a word, just starts tacking down shingles again, but smiling. And so that's when I understood that there was that thing that happened in the Depression where people understood if they didn't work and didn't stay focused on work, they were not going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always have sort of kept that in my mind. Although I did quit a good job once to go hunting.
Well,
But you have to have
priorities.
your priorities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this Old Farts Outdoors stuff, since someday I'll be an old fart, I guess. I only have 30 or 40 years left, I figure.
Yeah, you got to get
But
to that
anyway,
Master Plus level.
Oh, I think I'm at the master level. So I was watching a lot of videos, which I did some outdoor videos years ago, before it was possible to have a lot of advertising. And I made a lot of videos, invested a lot of money, and just had to close it down and go back to my writing and my college career and so on. But in watching the videos the last few years, it's mostly guys in their 30s and 40s out there doing these adventures, which is what we do, right? But when you see in one of those videos, you see an old fart sitting there, he's just dispensing advice. And yet all of the people I know are out there hunting, fishing, shooting, and they're all old farts. And so I thought, you know what, maybe we should do something to celebrate these seniors.
Absolutely.
And I do that. So that's why I started Old Farts Outdoors, and now we've got these rinks so that people under 60 are old farts in training.
Right.
But from 60 to 69, through 69, we have apprentice old farts. From 70 through 79, we have journeyman old farts. And then those of us who are 80 and older are master old farts. And it's sort of intriguing the way people look at you. To celebrate my 80th birthday, I went out, got an elk, got it out of the field, loaded it into the back of my Jeep Grand Cherokee, got it home, got it hung up and skinned, did all that by myself just to see if I could still do it. And I'm surrounded by people who are like that. So thus we do this Old Farts Outdoors. We're going to talk to a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are still out there shooting, competitively shooting. A Of course, everybody's going fishing, but we have guys who just groups of men and women. By the way, old farts include women, although some people raise their eyebrows. But we have groups of men and women in their 70s and 80s who spend a week or 2 weeks bicycling and are out biking all the time, hiking stuff, working clearing trails in the forest. And of course, my interest hunting and fishing. So I thought we should just celebrate that. So that's why I said, you know what? Why don't we start this gig called Old Farts Outdoors? And we got these great logo now that Dan Andrews created as a sketch for me many years ago when I was the executive director of the United Sportsmen's Council. Is
that sketch, is that in your book?
Probably. I don't know if it's in the book or not. Probably in my book. But I took that and had it updated so that it's an old fart.
Right.
And that's our logo now for Old Farts Outdoors. Dan Andrews was so gracious. He said, sure, use that any way you want. It was a pencil sketch originally. He's a wildlife artist, very successful. His business is feathercreations.com. Great artist. He's done a lot of duck stamp work and wildlife stamp work and very successful at a lot of things. And a very fine human being as well. But anyway, so we have this logo, we have t-shirts, we have sweatshirts, we have pullovers. I suppose eventually maybe we'll have mugs and all that stuff, but
yeah, plenty of ways to rep the Old Farts Outdoors brand and the cause, right?
The main thing is I want seniors to be celebrated for still being out there. On my logo, it's Old Farts Outdoors, and then around the edge it says, and still at it. And
speaking of, how many times a year still do you probably get out to go hunting? Not fishing, but just hunting. How many times a year do you think you go out? I know that's a loaded question.
Is that on a year when I actually get something?
Doesn't matter.
A year when I just keep hunting?
You know, hunting and bagging something is always different. But
I don't know. And I'm amateurish compared to a lot of my friends. But I probably spend, since hunting season is in the fall, and since we have this elk hunt that stretches out over several months and until you get an elk, you're out there looking, I probably spend 15 to 25 days a year out hunting.
That seems about right.
That might be an exaggeration.
Well, no, because I mean, usually
not.
we spend somewhere between 5 and 10 days just in Wyoming hunting.
Oh, I
every
forgot
year.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
No, that's probably right. 15 to 20.
15 to 25 depends on it. And then fishing too. You probably get out for the equivalent in fishing days.
Well, yeah, you have to go fishing. You know, it was Descartes, the great French philosopher, who said, "Je pesque, donc je suis." I fish, therefore I am.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's something like that anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably spend a couple weeks a year fishing. And then, of course, I process everything myself. So those are days that are really enjoyable.
Yeah, and we probably spend as many days a year processing as we do hunting.
Yeah.
If the hunt goes well.
And then we spend a lot more days a year thinking about what are we going to do this year? Where are we going to go?
Yeah, if you include all the prep time and planning that goes into it, you're probably around 50 or 100 days a year.
That might be 365 days a year, really, when you think about it.
Very fair. Well, I know we're a little pressed on time today, so we won't go too far, but I'd love to continue to put together kind of your life story around the outdoors and get a better understanding of just, you know, if there was ever a moment in your life that you decided you needed to prioritize your time in the outdoors, or if it's just been a lifelong theme for you. And then here's some of the stories from your books and articles. Like you said, you have 1,300 columns you've written. Columns that led to me even being known in town. I remember walking around one day when I was a kid, and they're like, "Oh, it's Edward, right? You guys got some salmon last weekend." And I'm like, "Who are you? How do you know this?"
Yeah, that was fun.
There's a lot of stories to tell, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about starting this series is that it's an opportunity for seniors to be celebrated and to share some of the history that they came through and the way that we once hunted and fished and the way that we do it now in terms of preserving and protecting our wild resources, as well as get to just immortalize some of these fantastic stories you guys all had from growing up in the outdoors.
Yeah, it's Mark Twain said, among a million other things, he said at one point, there is no such thing as an uninteresting life. If you're willing to sit with anyone and hear their story, it will be interesting. And so we're going to find a lot of those. We're going to talk to a lot of old farts, men and women both, and we're going to hear their adventures and hear what they're doing now. We're going to remind folks that we have an obligation to always be mentoring children and looking after children, because as a friend of mine in the Washington State Rotary said, and still writes at the bottom of some of our letters, children are the emissaries we send into a time we will never see. What do you want them to take with? So I like to quote Jody on that, and she says she doesn't even know where she got it, but it's all right, I can blame her for it. I love it, and I think it summarizes what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Well,
we're going to have fun.
Yeah, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to me and just start the series off. Tune into the YouTube channel. We'll have podcasts on Spotify. There's merchandise available at Old Farts Outdoors. And tune in as often as you can to hear stories from the wild spaces in our beautiful country and around the world, and some of the awesome old farts that have gotten to have the stories that they're going to share with us.
It'll be fun.
Enjoy.
Hey, it's Jim Huckabay again, host of Old Farts Outdoors. You just saw a discussion with Ed Bossert, our producer and editor, about why we started Old Farts Outdoors, what I wanted to do to celebrate seniors who've been outdoors all their life and are still at it. I thought it might be useful at this point for you to have some sense of what is coming. What are future episodes going to have? What kind of adventures are we going to be exploring? We're going to do some hunting adventures. We'll hunt a little bit in South Africa. That'll be a great story. And some hunting around North America for pronghorn, elk, antelope, probably most anything else that we can put on the table. We're going to do a lot of fishing. We're going to do fishing for salmon in Alaska and in the lower 48. We're going to fish for tuna out in the Pacific. We're going to fish for trout and maybe a few other things while we're at it. We're going to have an exploration of clam digging. Going to spend some time with my friend Matt. It's going to show us where to find the clams and how to identify them. And then how on earth you get them up out of that sand. And we'll be after razor clams in that situation. Going to do birding. Of course, that's a very popular hobby for a lot of seniors and young people as well. People get really wrapped up in their birding. Going to do shooting, both competitive and recreational shooting, hobby shooting. There are a lot of people who've been competitively shooting all their lives and continue to do it clear up until they are master old farts. We're going to go biking, talk to people who do a lot of biking, groups who go biking. We're going to talk about group camping, going to explore how that's working and how that is increasing in popularity. We're going to talk about hiking, walking, habitat work. A lot of folks are involved in that. And a lot of folks, actually a lot of seniors, retired folks, in many cases, who are out clearing trails to make things safe for everybody else. We're going to go to sportsman shows. I refer to sportsman shows as a fantasy island. As soon as you step in the door and pay your money, get your ticket, it feels like you just stepped onto fantasy island. What do you want to do? What's your fantasy? we'll explore that. It'll be fun. We're going to go on to the Quinault Reservation, the Quinault Indian Reservation in western Washington. Going to talk with my adopted Indian brother, Phil. We're going to be looking at what he does as he hunts bears and takes folks fishing. It'll be a very interesting exploration of the res. He will be out there with 3 of my almost grown grandsons, as he was explaining to them how everything works and how the world works and so on. I'm going to talk about truckers. Now, truckers are really, my old man would always say, the knights of the road. And they're very cool guys, and they work really hard and put in long hours and make sure we get all the stuff we need. But now and again, those of us who spend a lot of time on the road end up behind one of those guys who just can't resist the urge to pass 1, 2, 3, maybe one more truck after that, and sometimes seem to get caught up in the excitement of backing up a lot of cars. So there's apparently some research that's been done on the truckers who like to back up cars and then like to talk about it. We will explore that at some point. We are told that it's on the internet. We haven't seen that, but if it's on the internet, it must be true, right? So it should be an interesting study. We'll get to that. Outdoor kid mentoring. We're going to do a lot of that and explore that a lot. Old Farts Outdoors and most of the people who work with it are big fans of Jody Larson's reminder that children are the emissaries we send into a time we will never see, and a reminder to think about what we need them to take with. So we'll be exploring that. And it's part of that kid mentoring work that we're going to do. We have hunter safety training. Going to talk about the history of it. It's undergoing a lot of changes these days because of all the online stuff and everything. We're going to talk about that, the history of it, and how it actually is happening with some of the better instructors in our area and maybe across the country, because there are a lot of interesting ways that we get kids trained up, and adults too who decide they want to go hunting with their hunter safety pass so that they can get their licenses. We're going to talk about raising outdoor kids. We are not, as seniors, most of us directly involved in raising kids, but we have grandkids and we are mentors to them. And every once in a while, one of our kids will ask for some advice about dealing with a grandkid. You never know. So we're going to talk about how you raise an outdoor kid and what that kid needs to know and what they need to take with them and how you can help with that and all that sort of thing. If we're going to be working with kids, it occurred to us that we need some sort of anthem. And so we have found a great country song. It's called Ticks. And that song has been much misunderstood by folks. It really is a great, deep, emotional, significant opportunity to look at, through a guy's eyes, at a potential mate. Is this the woman that he would want to help raise the outdoor kids he wants to have in his family? So we'll be exploring that. That'll be fun. Look forward to that. Find our episodes, hundreds of outdoor stories, our merchandise at oldfartsoutdoors.com, www.oldfartsoutdoors.com. We have logo shirts like this one with ranks. We have ranks of Master Old Fart, 80 and over. We have Journeyman Old Fart, 70 to 79, and we have Apprentice Old Farts from 60 to 69. And then for those who are 59 and under, we have an Old Fart in training rank. And if you have a kid who really, and there are a lot of them out there, who kind of thinks that they are really already an old fart and starting to act like it, we have kids shirts with this logo, and under the logo it says Little Toot. So perfect gift for some kid who thinks he really already is well on his way toward being an old fart. I had 3 or 4 of them, so you know what I'm talking about. Our logo is from a sketch by, done some time ago, a pencil sketch done by Dan Andrews, an award-winning wildlife artist. He's won a lot of work for his birds, duck stamps, that sort of thing, state stamps, national stamps. You can find his work at feathercreations.com. Dan Andrews, feathercreations.com. We will have certificates of rank. For those who need something on the wall, we'll have certificates awarded to people who have achieved a particular rank, which might be a good birthday gift or something like that. Or maybe you need one on your wall. So we'll have those available. Our theme song for Old Farts Outdoors was written and performed by the great Billy Mack. And the rest of it, you'll just figure out as we go. Please join us. We're going to have a great adventure, and we're going to do a lot of exploring with Old Farts Outdoors.
We're old farts, good old farts, and there's nothing that we ain't done. Hiking, hunting, and fishing, we're still looking for more fun. So just sit back and listen. You don't want to be missing the adventures yet to be from folks like you and me. We've been up and down the trail a time or two. Now we wanna share these stories with you. We might be old, our wisdom's good as gold, so here are just a few. Yeah, we're old farts, good old farts, nothing that we ain't done. Hiking, hunting, and fishing, and we're still looking for more fun. I guess we ain't quite done. We ain't quite done.